This is the now generation. They feel disenchanted with the world around them. While they may, for the most part, be outside the mainstream of American life, they are a part of the wave of the future.
The year was 1969. Young people were tuning in, turning on, and dropping out. It was also the year that Charles Manson and the so-called family were suspected of committing horrific murders in Los Angeles. But one day they left their hideaway in LA and headed for the mountains of the desert. Maybe that's appropriate. See, it had only been 30 years since Willis George Emerson had passed away, the writer of The Smoky God and the Theory of the Hollow Earth. And many people still believed that the mountains of Death Valley contained a portal to the underground. Is it possible that that is why America's most notorious and sinister criminal came to Death Valley?
Manson had some kind of theology about finding a sipapu, a hole to the underworld, and he was going to cause chaos in the real world. He would go with his family and hide in the earth, in the underground caverns, and let us destroy ourselves. And then he and his new family would come out and take over the world. So yes, he was up in the mountains here, not too far away, a perfect place, hiding away. People knew he was here somewhere, but it was isolated. He could do anything he wanted there and did. A rather strange place, up in the Panamint Mountains.
Nearby was a miner and prospector by the name of Emmet Harder. Well, Emmet had no idea who the family was or that Manson was a criminal or any of that. He just thought he got some hippie neighbors. So Emmet, being the friendly guy that he is, got to know them. And we got to know Emmet, and he took us on a tour of the Barker Ranch and reminisced about those days with the Manson family and Manson's quest for that underground city.
We're in the main room, and this was the kitchen and the living room, and off to the right is where the stove was, and it had a big table here in the middle, and there used to be a little stove over there, and that's where Charlie and Carl were sitting arguing that winter night when a little fire in the stove and the girls were cooking hot cakes, and I was at the table with them. Some of the pictures they had in Life magazine, it showed the girls in the cabin in here, and I was just out of the picture, and that was as if I was blessed. You know, they got a picture when Carl was standing outside with Charlie, and beside the Greenbrier van and that, but it was as if I was shielded, I guess, because I was just out of the picture. They were taken by a fellow, an ore buyer, that came up to visit us up in Striped Butte Valley, and Carl and Chuck Hatch was his name, and he came down here with us, and he was taking those pictures.
One of the young people who got to know Charles Manson was Paul Watkins. Now, Paul was not involved in any of Manson's criminal activity, but he did become his friend. And Manson confided in him how he would bring about the end of the world. It was through a race war, and he called it Helter Skelter. Court transcripts of Paul Watkins' testimony reveal Manson's diabolical scheme.
If there would be some atrocious murders to make it look like some of the blacks from Watts would come up into the Bel Air and Beverly Hills district and just really wipe some people out, so that in retaliation, this would scare, in other words, all the other white people would be afraid that this would happen to them. So out of their fear, they would go down into the ghetto and just start shooting black people like crazy. And a big civil war would start and just really split them up into all these different factions. And they would kill each other off in the meantime through their war. And after they killed each other off, there would be a few left who supposedly won. And that was Helter Skelter. And during this time, Charlie told me where him and the family would be. Well, Charlie used to walk around in the desert and say, you see, there are places where the water would come up and it would go down, then it would come up again, and then it would go down again. And he used to look at that and say, there has got to be a hole here. Somewhere here, a big old lake. And it just got really far out that there was a hole underneath somewhere where you could drive a speedboat across it, like a big underground city.
I heard somebody said they were looking for a tunnel to the underground and that, and I thought about a vent I'd seen to an underground cavern up in the Striped Butte Valley, and I remember mentioning that to Charlie, and so if he was searching for the key to the underground of the world and that, I don't think this is quite the right place for it, but every man to his own.
It turns out Manson did find a small hole that he could crawl into where he could hide out. But it didn't lead to an underground city.
When they arrested Charles Manson, why, this little bathroom played a key part. The ranger was in here, there's a shower there and toilet here, and there was a pull chain water tank up here. And this cabinet is so small, you can see where the top of it was around here, and it only came over to here, and it only came out this far. It was very small. And so when the ranger saw the hair sticking out of the door right here and opened the door, there was a man in there, and the guy says, I'm Charles Manson. And he said, well, I don't care who you are, come on out, you're under arrest, you know. But that was, Charlie's freedom ended in this little toilet area.